G'day there guys, it's Connor here again from Marky Industries, and we are back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty guys, we're on Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Alarming Ad, and it's titled, Would I be the a-hole for losing empathy for my traumatized husband? Am I the a-hole to leave my husband, then come home, and now want to leave again? I, 24 female, and my husband, 28, have been together for 4 years, and I'm starting to doubt the marriage. My husband and I have been married for 2 years in June. We've had a long history of fights and disrespect from both sides. Here is our most recent problem. About 2 months ago, my husband had come home from work, and I had started complaining about I can't work full-time and take care of everything else. I work as a nurse, granted from home. I'm also responsible for most of the chores. My husband is supposed to take the garbage out, clean dog poop, and brush dogs a few times a week. He does garbage a couple times a week and dog poop once a week at best. I take care of dinner, groceries, laundry, animals, 6 of them, and am the primary caregiver to his daughter when she's with us, week on, week off. My husband has his own company, which we started together. Anyways, I was complaining and he was tired of it and kicked me out of our house. I was shocked as it didn't even seem to escalate like that. He called it his house. Days gone by and I end up coming home. My husband stated we both needed therapy individually so we can heal from our past traumas. I agreed and have done therapy before. I made an appointment a few days later for myself. About 6 days later we got into a fight because he was mad about my car being dirty. We had just had our 2 GSD in there, and again I'm the main transport for his 7-year-old daughter as I take her to and from school. I thought it was ridiculous and we got into a fight where I was sobbing and he was reconsidering the relationship. I almost left that day too. 3 to 4 weeks after that, another fight about intimacy. I had been struggling with libido and we agreed to 3 times a week, which I have been doing. He tried telling me I was not fulfilling this promise, though I was. I said it's a waste of my effing time then. He was appalled I said this and hung up on me. He wanted to talk about it a few days later, and I told him I feel like you're mad and I'm not in the right headspace. He said too bad and proceeded to tell me I ruined sex for him and he could never have it again with me. I ended up taking accountability for what I said and apologized. He didn't do the same until much later. I then told him I was going to leave if he did not go to therapy. I'd been going for at least a month at this point. Typically, I wouldn't use an ultimatum, but about a year ago he gave me one. I was in the worst mental space I'd been in, and granted I had been unfair and snappy and mean to my husband. We got in a fight and he yelled at me while I was crying, and said if I didn't get help, he would leave. I got help that day. Well, a month later and he had not gotten therapy, and then said I was trying to play victim and manipulate him. So I left. I came back after 3 days. He agreed to marriage counselling. I made the appointment. We had fought every day since I'd been home. Things don't feel right. Would I be the a-hole if I left again? One commenter says, not the a-hole. Pack everything that's important to you and that you want and leave. If you want the animals, take the animals and take whatever you want. But again, you leave. I have a feeling he's only using you to take care of his daughter. When you guys have most of your fights and he's kicked you out, was she there or not? Opie says, thankfully she was not there when he kicked me out. She hasn't been here for most of the fights. And Opie comments on why her husband had his demands for love. He said he needed it 3 times a week to feel love, and I agreed. I thought the sex thing was sus too, especially because he has trauma with cheating and is always accusing me of cheating. His Insta Explore page is full of half-nude models. He said he clicked on something once and now it's on there. Alright, let's move straight to another post Opie made 2 months later. Hi Reddit. My husband and I have been together for 4 years. Since the start, he has been insecure about cheating. He was viciously cheated on in his previous relationship and blames it on that. I have never cheated on him, nor has he ever found anything to even assume I was cheating. I used to be empathetic towards his insecurities, as I have been cheated on too. However, for the past 2 years, I've been losing said empathy. After pulling my phone records and going through all of my contacts last summer, he went to therapy for a month or 2 and his episodes of accusing me have decreased, but not stopped. I've been in therapy since January and he is the one who brought up going to individual therapy for both of us. However, he has yet to get back into therapy, and he continues to accuse me of cheating. We are also on couples counselling, which hasn't necessarily been overly helpful. He keeps saying that he's gotten better with accusations, so I should just be more patient with him, since he is my husband. Our last fight was a few nights ago. We were being intimate, which is a struggle too since I have low libido, and he said my breast tasted like wintergreen Copenhagen, and then he found and tasted a piece on me and accused me of cheating. This obviously ruined our intimacy, and he kept asking for an explanation. I told him I did not have one, besides I was hiking in the forest earlier that day and maybe had a pine needle on me. He didn't accept this answer and went to bed upset. However, he didn't bring it back up. When we discussed this in couples therapy, I acknowledged that he didn't escalate this fight and didn't bring it back up, which was an improvement from his past episodes. He still accused me in therapy and said I could have been with another man in the forest. Our therapist pointed out that this was kind of silly and suggested that if I was cheating, I probably would have showered. My husband said true, but said he has learned not to trust people. I'm so tired of being accused. It hurts so bad, and he doesn't acknowledge the pain it causes. He also doesn't get help for the issues and has excuses as to why he hasn't done therapy yet. He's upset at me because I told him I no longer have empathy for him and this issue. Am I the a-hole? Nah, this sounds really tiring for OP, and the boyfriend needs to seriously commit to, getting help about this. Otherwise, OP should probably get out of there. It's time she starts giving him ultimatums about it, I think. Let's go to the comments. Not the a-hole. Enough is enough. I know we want to support our loved ones, but this sounds exhausting. Not the a-hole. Girl, after reading through your post history, you need to start getting your ducks in a row to leave this man. He is toxic, immature, and sounds like a complete D-bag. If you're having to post this much about your relationship in subreddits like you have been, that should be a sign that things just ain't right. Honestly, I'd be offended if my husband thought I'd let somebody put their wintergreen chewing tobacco mouth on my fabulous tit. No, this guy needs years of therapy. Not the a-hole. It seems like this is getting to the point that even though you aren't cheating, he won't be satisfied until he catches you cheating. Only you can say if it's been enough, but you deserve a happy life without constant accusations and interrogations. I don't know that there's a ready for divorce. I would do it with the expectation that it won't go smooth and be ready to make changes as necessary. Please be safe and take your safety and security seriously. Moving on to an update 3 weeks later. Hi Reddit, thank you all for your advice and responses. I greatly appreciate and read each one. Well, here's an update. A few nights ago, he had asked me where I'd gone. I was confused as I'd not gone anywhere. He proceeds to say my car was backed in the driveway. I don't back in unless I have groceries, and now is pulled in. I said I didn't go anywhere. He thought my answers were weird and I was acting weird, but he left it alone. Later that night, I am initiating hand-holding and cuddling. It's late and I say I'm going to bed and I love you. He hesitated to give me a goodnight kiss, but he did it anyway. A few moments later, he goes to take a shower, at 10 p.m. at night, which he hasn't done before. I assume he's taking care of business himself. During this time, I say a prayer and say, "This feels weird. Give me a sign if this is weird." When he got out of the shower, he gets back in bed and then taps me. He proceeds to say he is done, and I am crushing his soul, because he says I don't initiate sex and I'm disrespectful, and says I am selfish. In couples therapy last week, he says he only needs sex like once a month and will take other stuff as supplementals, essentially. Last week, after I uncovered I was molested in therapy, I had sex with him and gave him a handjob. He says since I've come home, I haven't tried at all to give him what he needs. I'm trying my hardest. Let's not forget, I take care of him, his kid, the animals, the house, literally everything. He wants a gold star because he's helped me with dishes more and has helped more with transporting his child to and from school and now summer camp. During couples counselling today, he said the same things and then said I was using my newly found trauma as an excuse to not have sex. He also raised his voice at the therapist and said the therapist was being biased towards me and not holding me accountable. We kept going around in circles after therapy and I finally said I'm done. I can't do it anymore. I'm currently packing and crying a lot. I move into my apartment on Monday. Guys, I'm crushed. I'm so sad. I'm so confused. Godspeed. Thank you, everyone. One comment says, have you actually contacted his ex and asked her about the end of the relationship? Because controlling partners sometimes lie about having been cheated on to have an excuse to go through their partner's electronics and act absolutely insane. Also, please check his phone in return to make sure he isn't projecting. Opie replies, his ex is his baby mama. I've met her and known her for a while now. I probably wouldn't believe my husband if I didn't watch her ruin her recent engagement by cheating with multiple men. As far as projection, a few months ago his Instagram Explore page was full of busty Insta models. I confronted him and he apologized and said he wouldn't do it again. He said he was just looking at pictures and profiles. He said he didn't interact with anyone. I don't know. His Explore page still has occasional lustful women. He also searched for someone who I think is a porn star, and then when I looked a few days later, his search history was cleared. So he might be. I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely for the best that they're going their separate ways. I will say though, because I've experienced this personally, that sometimes the Instagram Explore page, particularly for men I find, shoves that brain rot stuff down our throat even if we don't actually click on it. Like all I look at on my Instagram is sports stuff, memes and cooking videos, and I still get that tripe on my Explore page. It's weird. Anyway, on to another update. I went back to the house yesterday to get my animals. He was there. He tried convincing me that 6 months from now we would both be different and could make it work. I kept telling him that I'm done. I'm so sorry. He didn't want to accept it, but eventually did. When he accepted it, he told me I was abandoning my family and my responsibilities. He told me I gave up on them, and he left. I got my animals and we spent our first night in the apartment. I feel some peace and freedom, but I also feel some sadness and guilt for leaving. I think this will be good though. Thank you, Reddit fam. Your encouragement helped me stay strong, and tell him no when he tried to get me back. I'm trying to cope with the guilt of hurting someone I loved so much. One comment says, I'm so sorry you've had to deal with this. What your ex did was absolutely not okay. He cannot excuse his actions just because he was traumatized by cheating in the past. He cannot excuse flipping the narrative on you and try to find other reasons to make you the villain. You deserve better. Please do not feel guilty for ensuring your own safety and well-being. Another comment says, he doesn't feel guilty about constantly accusing you of cheating, so don't feel guilty leaving him and his abusive behavior behind. He's upset that you aren't there to take care of him and his kid, not that he continuously hurts you with false accusations because he can't be bothered to learn coping skills. F this guy. Date yourself for a while and find what you really like. Okay guys, now for a new update. Hi all, thank you so much for the kind words and support. It has gotten me through this tough time. I'm happy to say the divorce is now finalised. Here's an update on how the past 3 months have been. When I went back to the house a few months ago to get my cats, I had to leave the dog sadly. He was there. He tried saying in 6 months after therapy things would change and I'm abandoning my family and responsibilities. He proceeded to say I was selfish and was leaving for another man after I kept telling him no. Finally, after he knew I was standing my ground, he said he would leave. He looked me in the eyes and his eyes had turned black, something I'd seen a few times before, and creepily said, "Goodbye." I then called my mum crying and scared, and he came back into the house and kept saying the same things. He finally left. He kept trying to contact me and my dad a lot the week after. He is of course telling everyone how awful I am and that I'm a cheater and abandoned him and his kid. Oh well. I also forgot to mention once he pushed me up against the bathroom vanity by my neck and then chokeslammed me after I attacked him back. I always blamed myself because there was alcohol involved, and he tried telling me the next morning he acted in self-defense because I attacked him first. He even took pictures of his scratches in case I called the cops. I didn't take pictures of my bruises. There were also 3 times throughout the years that he would restrain both of my wrists and not let me move if I tried to get some space during an argument. I never knew or considered this abuse and know how much worse it could have been. He recently texted me saying he saw my profile picture and accused me of being with another man days after leaving him. He said I was in another man's pickup truck, but it was literally his truck and a picture I'd taken after getting my hair done for wedding pics. I sent him that same photo 2 years ago when I'd taken it. Thank you all. I am doing very well. I still struggle with guilt and trusting my reality on some days, but it's better. Thank you. I am free. Now for some final comments. Not the a-hole. I'd not read any of your posts until tonight, and I'm so incredibly excited for you. He sounds... What did your dad say? I can't believe you had the nerve to try to talk to your dad after how he treated you. I'm glad you walked away. Nobody deserves an emotionally stunted, paranoid, insensitive, ungrateful jerk. You got this. Congratulations on your new beginning. You don't owe anyone an explanation on why you left. If they believe you cheated, that says everything about them, not you. I'm really proud of you for standing your ground. Do you have all the animals now and live in the house? I hope you changed the locks if so. I don't have the words to express how truly proud I am of you. It's so hard for most people to leave a DV situation. Most people take 7 attempts to get out, and when they try and leave is also when violence escalates. You're a real hero. Opie replies, I had to leave my dogs, but I took the cats. Thank you so much. It's fantastic to see you rising above this. Your courage to walk away from that toxic situation is commendable. You faced some seriously unsettling behaviour, and anyone claiming otherwise clearly doesn't understand the hell you've been through. Don't let his lies define your reality. They're a reflection of him, not you. Keep prioritising your well-being and trust in your strength. You're navigating this like a champ. If he's still trying to reach out, just block him completely. Focus on building the life you deserve, one free of that kind of madness. You've got this. Another comment says, I'm confused about the black eyes part. What the F was that? Did his eyes just completely turn black? Why is nobody asking about it? Opie says, his pupils completely dilated and his eyes are green, so it was noticeable, and in the moment it felt like his eyes had turned completely black. Geez, that's a scary image I didn't really want to think about. But yeah, in the end, I'm glad she got out of there. That guy just got worse and worse with every post I read. And without a doubt, she's going to need a little bit of help to navigate the near future, I'm sure. What do you guys think about this story? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Either way, we're going to move on to another one. Okay, well, over on True Off My Chest, this one was written by user Psych Factor, and it's titled, I think my husband fathered his best friend's children, and now one of them is attracted to my daughter. Now guys, this is a long post with multiple different updates and stories, the start of which you've most likely already heard somewhere, if not here. What I'll do is recap the beginning of this story in third person, and then move on to the new update. Okay, starting off. OP, 42 female, is married to Luke, 43. His best friend is Amy, also 43. OP and Luke met in college while he's known Amy since they were 7. They're best friends, surrogate siblings, and do everything together. OP and Luke have a great life and see Amy frequently. OP thought of finding a man for Amy so she could have a family, but no luck. OP lists her and Luke's children along with Amy's children. OP and Luke's children are Sophie, 15, Owen, 12, Louise, 10, and Carter, 6. And Amy's children are Tom, 17, Kaylee, 14, and twins Adam and Jenna, 9. Amy was not in a committed relationship and occasionally dating, found herself pregnant without knowing the fathers of her children. She was unconcerned about raising them alone. OP and Luke supported her financially and emotionally. There is the close friendship between Luke and Amy. OP began to suspect Luke may be the father of at least one, if not all of Amy's children, given the lack of other significant relationships in Amy's life. Having doubts, OP struggles with the idea of Luke being unfaithful, because they have strong family bonds with all the children growing up together. After OP and Luke's youngest child's birth, they decided Luke should have a vasectomy. Since then, Amy didn't get pregnant again, making OP questioning the timing of these events. Luke regularly visits Amy and her children, taking on a fatherly role, which seemed suspicious. OP noticed similarities in appearances between Luke and Amy's children, such as shared allergies and physical traits, leading her to question the possibility of Luke being the biological father. OP acknowledges their backgrounds differ. Amy's children appear biracial, which caused further doubts about their paternity. OP kept suspicions about Luke and Amy's relationship to herself, fearing her concerns would make her the bad guy and harm their families. OP reflects Amy's unsureness towards motherhood, suggesting Luke's involvement with her children may not stem from the desire to help her have kids. Opie keeps her guards up regarding her daughter Sophie, who attracted the attention of Tom, Amy's eldest. Sophie declined Tom's invitation to date, out of respect due to parental boundaries. Opie's refusal to allow the relationship led to a conflict, as Sophie didn't understand why. With Opie's concerns, Amy and Luke supported her position, though Luke expressed worry that forbidding romance might intensify Sophie's interest. Over time, it showed Tom was increasingly drawn to Sophie, spending more time together, leaving Opie feeling protective and powerless to prevent the romance. Sophie claims they're just friends. Tom is being affectionate, raising suspicions regarding secret dating. Opie feels helpless with the possible relationship between Sophie and Tom, who might or might not be her half-brother due to Luke and Amy's affair. Opie grapples with emotional turmoil of possibly exposing the truth about the children's paternity that could shatter family dynamics and hurt innocent parties. Wow, talk about jumping in with some juicy drama here. Let's see what the comments think. Is your relationship with Luke really good? Because it needs to be for this. You gotta have time where you and Luke can discuss this and literally start with how you understand it's going to create immediate tension and say you can't help but suspect something. They won't ever admit to it if they've been keeping the secret this long, plus with all the kids involved. The only way is to do a DNA test, however you can make that work. Even if you can somehow orchestrate a 23andMe thing with Tom, all you need is the swab and to send it off along with your daughters, and there's nothing anyone can do. You can feign ignorance and ask what the big deal is if they get upset. It's just a little fun to see what countries our genetics hail from, right? Or if you can somehow do it in secret, then do that. Then whatever the results say, you can decide what the outcome should be. Get DNA samples of the children and test. Confirm your suspicions quietly. No need to move on your gut. Hard evidence is required. Honestly, it might be time to blow it all to hell. What else are you going to do? Let this play out? It may be possible to do this diplomatically, though obviously this is a hell of a thing. Okay, on to a recapped update. Bear with me guys, I've got to do it like this, otherwise I'm going to be here for hours and I'm going to lose my voice less than a quarter of the way through. Trust me when I say it's long. Opie decided to confront Luke and Amy regarding the suspicions she had about their close bonding and possible affair. Luke and Amy gave Opie well-rehearsed responses as she expected. Amy was upset about the accusations against her. Luke was more understanding and respected Opie's feelings about her suspicions. Betrayal is going all around for all three. Opie asked Luke for the paternity tests, which upset him, but he agreed to it to give her the peace of mind on the children's identities. Amy didn't want to do the DNA test. She got so mad at Opie for the accusations and told Opie she won't get her children's DNA samples. Luke has continued with his claims that nothing has happened between him and Amy all of those years. Tom is old enough to consent on his DNA sample, but if he and Amy refuse to take DNA tests, Opie might ask Luke to check with Tom's younger siblings. Luke doesn't want to take Amy to the court for this to happen. Here is where Opie is worried. Opie was hoping Luke could talk with Tom to prevent him from pursuing a relationship with Sophie. Luke is hoping Opie could reconcile with Amy, but she doesn't think so. Father-in-law and mother-in-law, Luke's parents, Jim and Kat, learn about Opie's fears regarding Luke and Amy. Turns out Kat had the same suspicions that OP had. Jim is denying the fact on Luke and Amy are having an affair, maintaining Luke and Amy are best friends and siblings. Kat has wondered if Amy's children were fathered by Luke. Another update. Opie decided it was time to talk with Sophie away from the rest of the families because Sophie is old enough to acknowledge her father's possible affair with Amy. Once Sophie heard what Opie told her about Luke and Amy, she asked her mother if they could ask Tom to join them. Opie fills Tom in on what she told Sophie. Turns out, Tom and Sophie also had the same suspicions Opie did on their parents. Both Sophie and Tom explained to Opie what they knew so far and how they hatched a little plan of having a fake relationship to see if they could get solid evidence against Luke and Amy. Opie was relieved to learn the truth behind Tom and Sophie's relationship and now has them in her corner. After their lengthy conversations, Tom has volunteered his DNA sample so Opie can see if Luke is his father or not. Oh wow, smart kids. Turns out they were onto it way before anyone else. Okay, onto another update. DNA results are not back yet on if Tom and Sophie are siblings or not, but it will be a while. Opie's been talking with both Sophie and Tom, so Opie could gather all evidence that she needs for her lawyers to take a look regarding the divorce proceedings Opie is looking into taking. Opie clarifies several possibilities regarding Amy's children's paternity. Opie does not believe Jim was having an affair with Amy. Opie's house is in her name, not Luke's, so she has the legal documents and could have Luke move out by them. With Tom and Sophie's fake relationship plan in the play, Opie wasn't able to find anything from Luke's devices. From comments, Opie was able to dig deeper and located deleted messages between Luke and Amy, talking about OP being the problem. Opie immediately knew it was an affair behind her back. Letters, videos and pictures were found too. That sent Opie into a plan, packing Luke's stuff and kicking him out of the house after presenting the divorce papers to him. Luke realized he got caught and begged to work things out with OP, but she wasn't having it. Opie's children now know their father has to be away for a few days. Only Sophie knew about the affair. Jim and Kat are now troubled with Luke's version on why he was showing up at their doorstep after Opie kicked him out. Kat knew the truth, and Jim wasn't sure what to believe now. Amy has gone radio silence after Opie's conflict with her and Luke. Yep, caught, guilty, the kids are probably his for sure. Another update. Opie has been working with her lawyer, Paige, regarding the divorce papers and evidence she has on Luke and the affair. Opie happened to have snapped her family lawyer, Zach, who represented Luke and Opie on an unrelated case. She's also taken a few steps ahead of Luke to get things squared away with proper documentation and primary custody of her kids with supervised visits for Luke. After the whole thing has blown up, Opie has been in therapy and working on getting her kids therapy too to cope with what happened and moving forward in the healthy ways. Opie has worked on doing the age-appropriate talks with her children regarding the divorce with their father. DNA results are in. Sophie and Tom are not siblings. For any doubts, the test did not show Jim fathered Amy's children because it would require a percentage of Jim's DNA to show up. Opie, Tom and Sophie are now confused too on the results. Now the question is, who is Tom's father? And did he father Amy's younger children too? Amy and Luke are now angry at OP as they have suspected OP took evidence from Luke's devices. Amy has refused to apologize to OP for the possible affair. Verbal abuse was going on between OP and Amy because Amy believes OP is going after Luke for everything, including her children's paternity. Amy wasn't going to admit she and Luke were having an affair. Amy damaged OP's laptop and assaulted OP, which led her to have a police report filed against Amy. OP's wondering about the motives Amy has against her. Yeah, it's all getting nasty now. Another brief update. Luke now has lawyered up. Opie was advised from everyone else to have Amy arrested, but she knew she had to send her video evidence to her lawyers first to see if it's warranted enough for an arrest. Opie had to keep this update brief because there were some events taking place which forced Opie to put things on hold. Jim, Luke's father, has passed away from a heart attack. Both families were together at the funeral. Opie didn't want to be stressed out with the affair, so she put it aside for her kids' sake as they cope with their grandpa's passing. Opie and Luke did not speak of Amy around their children to allow them to grieve properly without any extra stress. Opie mentioned about Kat and the test results. Turned out Kat has betrayed Opie's trust because she didn't send in her son's DNA samples. It's likely Tom could still be Luke's. Kat had to come clean to Opie because she was feeling guilty for her grandchildren. Opie's lawyers finished looking into evidence she gathered on Luke and Amy. They found something that Opie didn't know about. Opie has realized that it was something that had Amy panicking and damaging her laptop. With the discoveries, Opie opted not to expand what they were because it's not appropriate for the audience to know about, even an anonymous internet post. Opie's not sure if she'll be able to forgive Luke and Amy at this time, but with what's going on between Luke and Amy, it has tore Opie apart. Well, what's going on? So the DNA tests are void, and there's something to do with Opie's laptop that, has her destroying it? What's going on here? Alright, well regardless, we're at the new update now. We're back to first person from OP. Hey everyone, this may very well be my last update for a while. I'm in therapy now, as are my children, and from what I hear, Amy's children are as well, so that's good. So I should probably be focusing on healthier ways to expel my feelings. Nonetheless, I have talked to my therapist about these posts, and according to her, venting anonymously online can be healthy up to a point. If I do talk about my life again, I may do it in different subreddits or something. I'm still not sure. I've also met with the judge now. Many were worried about how these posts might come back to bite me in the ass, legally speaking. The short answer is that they won't. The long answer is that because they're anonymous, there's technically no risk of defamation or slander. I've changed enough of the meaningless details and given everyone fake names. The posts aren't going to be relevant in the case, and I'm clear to keep writing them if I so choose, so long as I don't discuss the details of the actual case itself. Though I think the judge would prefer I just stop writing these altogether, one of the reasons I may do so. Without divulging the specifics, I went ahead and reported what I'd learned, and all hell broke loose. I knew I had to do so because Amy and Luke had changed gears after Jim passed. They began to make the case that Luke and I had always had an open marriage, that there could be no such thing as an affair, and any instances of Luke sleeping with Amy could not be counted against him. It is no accident that they chose to do this after we lost Jim. As far as I can tell, he was the only other person who knew about what Luke and Amy did, and would have done something about it. Now that they don't have to worry about that, I think they wanted to claim I always knew about the affair, and that it was no true affair. When I didn't report them, they must have assumed I didn't know the truth, and they changed their story. But I knew, I reported it, and now they're screwed. Which unfortunately means everyone else found out. There was no way the children wouldn't learn the truth through the grapevine. I told Sophie and Tom personally because I figured they would learn of it anyway. The others did. Tom was pretty shell-shocked. I know I'm just the messenger, but I felt terrible and I wanted to comfort him, but there wasn't a whole lot I could do. Poor Kaylee did not handle it well. I'm told she had several meltdowns and then tried to run away. I know she tried to run away because she came to our house for sanctuary, and literally I had to give her back. I knew all the reasons I had to, but I was sorely tempted to give the middle finger to all of them and let Kaylee stay with us against Amy's wishes, but no, I had to relinquish her, and honestly, nothing has been harder than that was. I know it isn't my fault, but I still feel like I betrayed her. Sophie also has been dealing with a lot of anger towards her father, especially after he and Amy forced Kaylee to come back to stay with Amy again. All of this, it hit Sophie and Kaylee the hardest. Luke wanted to see Sophie again, and she refused. She wouldn't come out of her room. Technically, I was supposed to let him see her, but she's 15 years old. I told her to come out of her room, and she wouldn't, so in my book, I tried. This was after Kaylee's incident, so when Luke pressed me to force Sophie out of her room, I'm not proud to say I shouted at him to leave. My blood was boiling by that point. Throughout all of this, my soon-to-be ex-husband and his affair partner are still acting like I'm the bad guy. Luke and Amy are angry with me, and that's putting it lightly. They have no right to be, but they are, or at least they're acting angry. I now have a restraining order against Amy because I was quite certain she would confront me after the fact, and she did. After I reported them, and before Kaylee came over, Amy came to the house while my kids were home, banged on the door and screamed. She was furious with me for what I had done, but I don't know what she expected me to do. I called the police, but Amy was gone by the time they showed up. They were just as useless as last time, to be honest. When Kaylee came to me for asylum, Amy came after her, but I wouldn't let her in the house until she called the cops herself. I would only let one of them take Kaylee. Amy was not setting foot in my house. I was very clear to explain the situation, but it didn't matter. Amy later smeared me on social media and framed me as a kidnapper. I set the record straight without divulging too much about the circumstances of the situation, which I was tempted to do. Luke also gave me the lecture of a lifetime when I saw him, but I just kept cutting him off and spitting the facts in his face. I don't know if it's been my time away from him, but I'm learning to recognize his bullcrap now, where previously I fell for it every time. He always sounds so reasonable and sweet, but what he's actually saying is often circular and evasive. Honestly, I'm so angry with him for what he's done to his children, all of them, Kaylee especially. I want to adopt that girl. I know I can't, but I want to. Kat and I had a long talk as well. So far as I can tell, she didn't know, and she's genuinely sorry for her earlier deception. Trust takes time to rebuild, but I also understand that she was in an awful position. But now that certain things have come to light, she's kind of in shambles herself, so I pity her. Not to mention, if Amy loses custody of her children, and she very well might. I need all the help I can get. I can't take all of them in. I don't have the space. Kat will need to do some of the legwork, so I'm trying to give her the chance to earn my trust back, sort of out of necessity. I can't speak to the long term, but if all goes as it should, Luke's not even going to be getting visitation of my kids. We'll know soon enough though, and it will be on record, if Amy's children were fathered by him. All I know is they've always been quite certain Kaylee was, though they never had her tested. So far as I can tell, Amy hasn't really been intimate with anyone other than Luke for a long time. For the record, Kat is still supporting Amy financially, and by that I mean she's supporting Amy's kids. I don't mind that. If Amy loses custody, that all goes away anyway. As to the how and why of Luke and Amy getting together, well, from the letters, I've put the pieces together as best as I could. Amy was sexually abused as a child, and Luke was apparently the only person she felt safe exploring her sexuality with when they were in high school. It was a very bad idea, and they both knew the reason why it was a very bad idea well before they made that choice. As to the lie about them being surrogate siblings, apparently they always did have that kind of relationship emotionally, but they also did this. After Tom was born, they also believed Tom to be theirs, going off the letters. The bond took on more romantic aspects as well. Amy describes Luke as my person, and he says the same about her. I did read the letters in much more depth, for as much as it sickened me, I wanted to understand. I'm doing better overall though. Personally, I'm doing better, which makes me feel kinda guilty because nobody else is. My kids are miserable, which makes me miserable, but I know there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I want them to see it. Luke and Amy are miserable, which, honestly, I'm not going to say I'm glad about, but I don't know what they were expecting. They've been playing a monstrous game for decades. It was always going to have consequences sooner or later. Amy's kids are miserable, especially Kaylee. I wish I could reach out to her again, but I absolutely can't except through Tom, and he needs to play this carefully. Kat is miserable too. We're all still reeling from the loss of Jim, and honestly the Kaylee incident really tore my heart in half. But I think I'm over the hump, and I'm taking comfort in how I'm actually choosing myself for a change. And a few more comments from OP. It's not about the cheating. Luke and Amy committed a particular crime that would raise alarms about whether the children are safe with them, and that's what I reported. Amy might lose her kids for this reason. This also has to do with the DNA tests. Due to the nature of the crime, they will be mandated. I did see the judge at the same time as Luke and our lawyers, and asked him if these posts were okay. What is so hard to understand about that? Getting a lot of comments where people say, judges don't give legal advice, but they do make judgments. It's right there in the name, and that's exactly what happened. I explicitly said I cannot take in all the kids in if Amy loses them, but Luke certainly won't be able to. He's no less on the hook than she is. Kat will most likely be granted custody, but I will continue to assist and provide somewhere to stay. Kat won't mind, and I'm a lot more than their dad's ex-wife. I'm the mother of their half-siblings who they've seen nearly every day for their whole lives. That's not nothing. One comment asks, who is the proper authorities Opie had to report the possible situation to? Opie says, in this particular instance, alerting social services was the way to go. They have not removed Amy's kids from the house, but they may in the future. And you're right, a CPS report is not something you do lightly, and I still wonder if I did the right thing. I'll probably always wonder. But under the circumstances it was warranted. Luke and Amy having children together at all is grounds for those children being taken, because Luke and Amy are siblings. Effort, everyone figured it out anyway. Someone else asks, is Amy still making accusations against OP for any new issues? She replies, she only made posts accusing me of kidnapping Kaylee and lying about her and Luke, which caused a lot of commotion even after I cleared the air. Most people seem to believe me, or believe that it was a misunderstanding. As far as her claims of an open marriage, that was the only statement from Luke's lawyer. It's not widespread, at least not that I've seen. Neither of them have confirmed the paternity of Amy's children. She's maintaining that they aren't Luke's, and even if they were, that's between the two of them and no one else. DNA tests will sort that out. They'll sort everything out. As to my reporting, she and Luke are maintaining that they don't know anything about what I accused them of, but I have proof that they did know. Opie on Amy losing the custody of her children over a possible crime Amy's committed. Not that I'm saying this is it, but that could result in her losing custody. How is Tom doing? Not well. Apparently he won't talk to Amy or Luke, and they blame me for that too. I'm pretty sure he's going to come stay with us the second he hits 18, though he might stick around to look out for Kaylee. How is Kat, Luke's mother, handling the new details already out? Did she know what Luke and Amy were doing? Opie says Kat is definitely going through a lot, and she's always been a good mother-in-law to me and a grandma to my kids, so I want us to get past to this. I can only imagine how lonely she feels right now. I don't think she knew what Luke and Amy were doing. I don't think she found out what Jim did until I told her. More or less, Kat came to suspect over the years that perhaps Amy's children were Luke's, but she never had proof, and she never knew the full story. Someone said, did Jim do something that Kat didn't know? He cheated on Kat. Any chance Amy is related to Jim? Amy's mother was one of Jim's students. He was a professor. Luke and Amy are half-siblings. Alrighty folks, and that's the end of that one for now. I'll keep an eye out for any future updates, but yeah, I need a drink. Plenty to say about that one, I'm sure. Give me your thoughts down below in the comments. Anyway, we're going to leave it there. That's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.